You're about to unveil your commission, the Optic Cloak at the Greenwich Peninsula, which this is a maquette for. Can you tell us a bit about the ideas behind this commission and also how it works? Because it's not actually just a sculpture, is it?
No, it's not a sculpture at all. It's actually, because it's subservient to a lot of the constraints of the design. It's essentially a 50-meter flue stack, 20 meters wide and 3 meters deep. So it's a unique sort of shape, and it's very thin and very tall. So it's like a slab, and we've essentially developed a whole primary structure and a secondary structure around these flues, which allow the light to pass through it. It celebrates it being a flue rather than a sort of industrial utilitarian object that allows the steam to disappear from this energy centre. But essentially it's created a skin for the surface of this building. So it's not, I sort of think of it more of a sort of it's a sort of design intervention, or I worked with a sort of visual consultant to come up with a solution for this large massing. And it basically takes advantage of this thing called the moiré effect. So it's all perforated sheets of these big triangular panels that sort of tessellate all over the surface. It creates quite a sculptural surface which breaks up the form, but it also creates quite a disrupted surface, because you get this effect of the light through it, where basically it creates this this thing called the moiré effect, which basically allows the surface to sort of move and shift and oscillate, and it creates a sort of flux on the surface. So it sort of disrupts the surface and almost makes it disappear, or makes it quite beguiling to look at.
They're not flat, those pieces, are they?
They're all sort of folded triangles, so there is a sort of undulating surface to it that's sort of pleated, if you like, but then the panels, each of those triangles are flat in themselves, but because of the interference pattern that creates through the two shapes, it sort of creates this quite an optic effect of movement, and sort of this sense of, and as you move around it, as you drive around it or you walk past it, you'll get this optic kind of movement, oscillation on the surface.
Is this the largest scale that you've ever worked on?
Yes. And I've done some pretty big things. I mean, I sort of, again, it's not a sculpture, so it's a skin for a building that we've designed basically. But it's certainly the biggest scale of something we've worked on.
And how did it come about that you were producing this? Were you asked to, or did you put a proposal in?
I was asked to. I was put in a competition with by Future City to come up with an artwork for this tower. I mean, then it was a sort of black sort of slab basically. So there was no light going through it. And they wanted an artwork on the side of it. And my pitch was quite different, I think, from the others who were putting artworks on the side of it or turning it into an LED screen. Mine was about actually completely removing the steel shell and making something much lighter, much more efficient than what was previously things. So it's actually much lighter in terms of weight. So there's been a big saving in materials and sort of carbon, and so it sort of hopefully fits the spirit of the project, which is basically a low carbon energy centre. So it's trying to be more efficient and more green. So this is hopefully, my intervention has resulted in the building and the structure being much more green.
Which is something, I mean, you respond a lot to different technologies and sort of tested methods that haven't necessarily been carried forward. There's a lot of, I work very closely with structural engineers, and we've done a huge amount of research into the moiré effect and this optic effect, and what the sweet spots of how big the hole should be, the pattern of the hole, the angle of the hole to the panel behind, all the variables that basically create the thing, and hopefully all of these compound angles of incidence from the front and the back create this wonderful kind of different effect where as you move around it, they move in different directions as you look at it. How long have you been working on it now?
It's been 2 years, so not a huge amount of time considering the scale and the ambition of it.
And looking around your studio, you seem to have lots of different size versions of different maquettes for sculptures that you've worked on.
Well, there's a lot of studies into different forms and different rules and different logics of how you grow, or how the rules of how you form something. So a lot of them, we work in this quite scientific way where we create a series of arrays, which basically sort of almost like creating a control in a series of experiments like a scientist would. We basically create a series of objects which you basically compare and contrast, and you see by changing one aspect, you then basically gain a better understanding of the form through that that kind of juxtaposition.